Welcome to The Authority File, the podcast where you'll hear conversations with academic librarians, technologists, researchers, and authors whose work is laying the foundation for higher education's future. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. If you're new to The Authority File, you can listen to and find previous episodes on most of the major podcast platforms, and we encourage you to sign up for our monthly newsletter, The Authority File Roundup, which keeps you updated on previous, current, and upcoming Authority File episodes. You can subscribe at choice360.org by clicking on the newsletter banner at the top of the homepage. My guests for this four-part series are Stephanie Espinoza Villamore, e-learning librarian at the College of Southern Nevada, and Kimberly Shattuck, student success librarian and an assistant professor at Northern Illinois University. Stephanie and Kimberly are co-authors of the book Practical Marketing for the Academic Library, out now from ABC Clio. Their book is a Marketing 101 approach to promoting library services and resources, not just to students, but the broader campus community as well. The title is approachable, appropriate for any kind of academic library, and considers a holistic approach to marketing, which includes the business-like tactics of marketing as well as the more empathetic methods that account for the variety of challenges and needs of a library's patrons. This four-part series is brought to you with support from ABC Clio. In this third episode, Stephanie and Kimberly discuss why building a marketing team is crucial, even if you're just one person, and which of your colleagues should be on it. Okay, so you've both talked about, sort of a team approach to, the marketing tactics and strategies. And so why is it important to form a team?
So some argue that it's marketing is everyone's job, and I agree that if you're a reference librarian and you don't have marketing responsibilities, that you still have a responsibility to communicate with your faculty, with your students. It really is in everyone's job, but because we need to be strategic about our marketing efforts, you might miss something. You might miss something big, or you might expend resources inefficiently if you're not doing some strategic planning around marketing. So I think it's important to form a team because, first of all, just assuming it's everyone's job, you're going to, again, miss something. And then secondly, because if it's all just on one person, that's too much for one person, but also you're going to miss the perspectives that come from having a team.
So let's talk about the team structure. I assume you might need a formal structure to the team. Why is that beneficial?
So when you're forming your team, it's going to be important to have people who play different roles. And so if you have a more formalized team structure, then you could say, okay, these are your responsibilities, these are your responsibilities, and kind of, plan out who's going to tackle what. So for example, at our college, our marketing team, we call it the COM team for communication, outreach, and marketing. And our COM team is just kind of built on librarians and staff members who have volunteered to kind of work together towards our marketing goal. But we also have subcommittees focused on specific areas of marketing. So we have a social media subcommittee, and they'll do our TikTok videos. They'll make sure that things are pushed out to Facebook and Instagram. We have a subcommittee for events, so that all three campuses that are doing kind of the same type of event usually, or if one event is on one campus, we'll make sure it's marketed at the other campuses. We have a subcommittee for our print materials, so it's kind of like our hour signs and the physical things that we need to print out. Mm-hmm. And then a subcommittee for our branding to make sure that we've got like a consistent brand going across all campuses, all of our materials. And so by having those subcommittees, we have people who are dedicated to they know that they're supposed to work on that particular piece. And then they all come together and regroup at our big COM team meetings, say, okay, this is what we're working on. Let's look at the shared calendar. Let's see, okay, social media is doing this. Let's make sure we're reflecting that in our event. Let's make sure everything is pushed to every medium, and so that we're all kind of on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And that you note in the book that when forming, this formal team structure, that one shouldn't forget that this work should be reflected in an employee's job description and then even evaluated on that work. And I was very kind of happy to see this because a lot of times you hear so many anecdotes around how librarians are always kind of just taking on different tasks and responsibilities that weren't necessarily there when they were first hired. And so what are the benefits of approaching this and making sure they're, in that job description?
Yes, this is so relevant as we're talking about quiet quitting, and
Yeah.
which not a fan of the term, but definitely a fan of doing the work that you're assigned, and a lot of times this work isn't assigned, and
Mm.
that is a huge problem. So the benefit of putting it in someone's job description, or hopefully the job description of anyone who's on that marketing team, you're going to avoid burnout by avoiding overload. Marketing is a ton of work.
Hmm.
And oftentimes, and you would ask the question about what is the benefit of having a formal team. One of the benefits is actually creating or getting some sort of scope and charge that's reasonable. So if you're having this work done as a team in someone's job description or multiple individuals, you can avoid some of that scope creep that can happen a
Yeah.
lot with library marketing, because as I mentioned, it's not just the promotion, it's the events, it's the kind of how do we change our services and resources, the market research that you might do. It's
Hmm.
a lot of work. So also then, of course, getting recognition and the appropriate pay for that work is kind of what follows.
Right, right. So your book also kind of covers moments or times when it might be appropriate to have informal teams. And I'm wondering if you can kind of talk about that team structure and what an informal team might tend to work on.
Sure. I think informal teams are really still important. So you might have a formal team that's working on the ongoing strategic planning and the ongoing work of marketing, but you might have an event that pops up, or a short-term marketing project like a little could be very big rebranding project. So work that is not ongoing but has a limited time span, and you might want to get folks who are not currently on your marketing team to provide input or support for those things. So
Hmm.
those are really important too. But I think it's important to be realistic about the scope for those, and be transparent about the time commitment that they might take. And I'm definitely guilty of this, that you want to overestimate that time commitment because you might think something will take 10 hours. It's pretty safe to say it's going to take about 3 times the amount of time that you think it is. So,
That's true. That's absolutely true. Um, so another, I'm wondering for the occasions where it's a very small library, very small staff, where they might not have an opportunity to form a team, or there may be one person who really actually has to do all of this. Are there any recommendations you might have for sort of that,
yeah,
one person superstar who's kind of doing all the taking on the marketing for that library?
definitely. And we get this question at conferences when we present about marketing teams, and then someone goes, "Wait, but I'm a library of one,"
Yeah.
so which is common. And I think you can still be part of a team, still
Hmm.
do work as a team. So there's going to be maybe an office of student affairs that you can work with, or other external entities internal to the campus that
Right.
you can coordinate with. So if you are a library of one, I would recommend finding, are there existing teams that are doing this kind of work, whether it's related to communications or programming, or some combination of that. It doesn't have to be library centric, but you might be able to join an existing team or start your own.
You just heard from Stephanie Espinoza Villamore, e-learning librarian at the College of Southern Nevada, and Kimberly Shoddick, student success librarian and an assistant professor at Northern Illinois University. Join us next week when we discuss diverse perspectives and practices in library marketing, particularly how to apply a DEI lens to marketing strategies and how to ensure DEI efforts and policies are included in the assessment process. This 4-part series is brought to you with support from ABC Clio.
So when you write a good objective, and I recommend looking at how to write SMART goals. The assessment is actually built in. You want to write a plan for the year that is something that you can assess. So it's just really a matter of planning, and then the assessment follows.
As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant, Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.